I think today we're going to do something different, maybe something that a bit of role play, and Rogers is happy to play the role. And what I'll be doing is trying to highlight some of the techniques that we use in practice as a mental health practitioner, and when people come to our service, how we trying to deal with common mental health illness. But today we'll decide on panic and
Yeah.
anxiety. So we'll go into that.
So yeah, I'm gonna play the role of Mr. Ali, and Shakil. Well, he is a mental health practitioner. So let's begin.
Okay. Hello, Ali. How are you doing today?
Um, I, I would say I am okay.
Okay. So what really brings you to the to us for this session today?
Yeah. But recently I've been having. Well, I have to say there is a lot of anxiety and stress and panic, and I just am always worried, and I don't even know what I am worried about.
Okay. Okay. So when these panic attacks happen, what does it look like? What do you experience?
So,
If you go back through, one of the experiences when it happened, occurred, and just like, what is it like? What does it feel like?
for example, um, so I think I have put on maybe weight, and I want to lose weight, and then I'm thinking how to do that, and then I'm thinking what sort of exercise, and basically it's difficult. And also I'm trying to reduce sugar in my diet.
Okay.
So then I'm panicking, as in, what do I do first, or how do I go about doing this, and it's very stressful.
Okay. So when a panic attack happens, what do you experience? Go through an example of when it happened. When's the last time this panic attack or anxiety attack that you experienced as an experience? What do you start? What starts happening
Yes.
to you? Like physically, you may be feeling your heart racing, or at the time of thingy, when panic comes in, you feel like dread maybe, or something's
Okay.
happening. So I just wanted to know exactly what you're experiencing.
Yes, so it would be like, I'm thinking, should I have coffee or tea, or should I take a shower, and then it's like it's hard to decide. Then also browsing through the mobile phone, it's makes me confused. Then I'm thinking, um, I kind of forget, and then what am I supposed to do? And then I start panicking.
Okay. So, okay, I think what there's a few things there to unpack. So particularly the coffee and the tea and everything else. Obviously, that's going to have an impact on you when you're feeling panicky. Because only because it's like things that are going to improve or increase your heart rate, that are going to have an
Yes,
impact as well.
that does happen.
Yeah, yeah. So, in terms of how we deal with a panic attack, when it happens, it's just finding the triggers. So finding what is happening before your panic attack happens, and making a note of them.
Right.
Because you'll see there'll probably be a pattern as to these things start happening.
Okay.
Usually, sometimes they can come out without warning, and other times it just happens.
Mm.
So when we talk about anxiety, we're thinking the heart racing, so that's a physical symptom. Your mental, so you're seeing things and your mind maybe is racing, so you have a flood of thoughts coming into your head when you're feeling
That
anxiety.
does happen, yes.
So these are the symptoms that typically would occur when somebody gets anxious and gets anxiety. So it's just finding the things that are happening in sequence.
Yes.
So you'll have your thoughts racing. So that's one thing. That's your mental
So
health.
yes, that is correct. So sometimes what happens, I have multiple thoughts, and then I can't focus, and this is, I think, the trigger
Okay.
for the panic attack. And then it's like I'm confused. What was I supposed to do first? Make the tea, or take the shower, or go for a walk. Yes.
Yep. So when you're experiencing these symptoms, if you just focus on the panic bit, one of the things people do is you need to, because things are going so hyper, it's going really quick. So one is your mental, your thoughts going really thick, and then the second thing is your physical, and you might have a heart rate that's going fast. You're increasing in breathing. You're breathing faster. You start sweating.
That's right.
You maybe start feeling sweaty palms, feeling irritable. So I'm just focusing on the physical symptoms. And what I'm trying to do is dissect it to its core. So what's happening physically and what's happening mentally, and then what behaviours are occurring. Because some of the behaviours when you go through anxiety and panic is, say you wanted to go to a doctor's appointment, but because you're feeling so panicky, you won't go out the door, so you won't go and attend the appointment because it's just affecting you in a negative way. So what you do is what they call avoidance. So avoidance behaviours. You don't want to meet people, so you don't want to be in social gatherings because it's like you panic. Sometimes you come out in hives.
That is correct. Yeah, I do. Sometimes it's can be scary, to meet new people, or just like you said, I'd rather stay home than go out and. What if someone asks me something?
That's like social anxiety as well.
Yes.
So the ending result is that you're obviously isolating yourself in that sense. So you're not getting involved in activities. You're keeping yourself on your own. Maybe finding it difficult to mix with people. So more and more, you're losing the skills that you would have in terms of engaging with family members and people like that because you're afraid that this panic or this anxiety is going to come up and it embarrassed me in front of other people and I don't want to experience all that. So the first thing is finding out what the symptoms are. Like I mentioned, all the physical symptoms that are happening. And anxiety seems to have the same kind of things happening to you. Everything speeds up basically for you. So you're not, like you said, you're unable to focus, you're unable to do anything constructive. So once you recognise your anxiety and you recognise all the symptoms that are personal to you, that you're experiencing, it does go back to the old setup that we have in our body, like the fight or flight. So that it just kicks in. So what you're thinking about is you fight, and then they call it fawn as well. There's another stage to it that you want to try and deal with, but it's a vicious cycle. And what you need to do is to break that cycle. So some of the techniques people use include things like putting your hand, putting some, if your hand's really sweaty and everything, and you're aware of all the symptoms, you can try and calm yourself down using breathing. So what you need to do is try to calm things down using maybe the box breathing technique, which will help you take belly breaths. So what you do is breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds,
Right.
and breathe out for 4 seconds, and then
Okay.
hold again for 4 seconds.
Right.
So that's one technique that people use in times of when they see the panicky feeling coming onto them. Because people who typically have panic, they will know the trigger signs before it starts happening into full-blown panic.
Right.
So it's trying to address them symptoms, you know, learning how to recognize them, and then what I need to do before it starts kicking in, rather than going to override.
Right.
So what the steps you take is calm, take slow, long breaths. For example, the breathing technique, which is, you know, breathing in for 4, holding for 4,
Okay.
and then breathing out for 4, and then holding again, and then do the cycle again. So that seems to kind of be able to slow things down a bit. And that's quite effective, quite a few people. But there's other techniques that we mentioned that we do talk about, and, you know, things like grounding techniques. And one of the grounding techniques is typically when you find yourself becoming anxious, you'll do 5 senses. So you do automatically, you start thinking, what are the 5 things I can see? So because your thoughts are racing and everything's happening all at once, so what you're doing is getting yourself out of being in your head, start looking out to stop your senses from going into override. So you'll see 5 things. For example, you can see a fireplace there, the light bulb, you know, a wall, that picture there, that's 4, and a chair, 5. 5 things that you see, 5 things that you can hear, 4 things you can hear, pardon me.
Right.
3 things that you could smell, 2 things you can taste, depending on what your overriding sense is. So if you're cooking everything, you could do 5 things that you can, you know, cook and think about that.
I see what you mean, depending on your
distraction.
environment.
Yeah. So that's, you know, typically that's 1 or 2 techniques that we can do in terms of trying to stop that panic getting into the override stage where it has loads of negative impacts as well.
Yeah.
Is that useful?
Yes. I will try this at home, especially the breathing technique.
Yeah.
And of course, trying to. So how would I go about managing stress?
It's the same process. So what you need to do is slow yourself down and then do some problem solving. So basically, stress itself, there's like, you can go through like a 7-point problem solving technique. So whatever the issue is, what you'd have to do is to try and identify a few steps that you go through. So basically what you do is it, first question is yourself, you know, objectively think about is it in my control or is it outside my control?
Right.
So once you identify something that you have control over and then you can make a difference, then that's the first step. But if it's outside your control, then is it really worth you stressing yourself? Because you can't do anything about it.
That's true.
But when the worry bit comes in, and sometimes you can't help yourself, for instance, as a parent, you're worried about your kids, and there's some things that are happening globally you're worried about.
Yes.
So these are a few things that you can start thinking about. So we'll go back to.
We'll pause 1 second.
Yeah.
Now we will talk about, it's known as geopolitics, international geopolitics, and the reason behind, you know, why do people do things. It is psychological, you see, and also, so it's actually interconnected.
So here's a question.
Yeah, sure.
We don't really ask enough of. How far does a crisis have to be to make it personal? So around the world, you know, Gaza, Kashmir conflict, debt to the USA. You know, you
USA
mentioned it's
debt,
like
yeah.
30 something.
Uh,
So, you know, in terms of how it affects us,
Hmm.
to make it personal, how far do we have to do? Because these are things happening around us, and I'm just conscious the impact it has on our mental health and our well-being as individuals.
It does. So
So you give us a global picture and what you.
yeah, so you see, it's a good question. So the Gaza genocide, and it is a genocide, because you have the United Nations Special Rapporteur. Her name is Frances Albanese, and anyone can look this up. And she said it is a genocide. Call it as it is, because she gave a good, I would say, a metaphor. So she says, if you have cancer, then there's no point calling it a fever, because you won't get the treatment. If you have cancer and you say to the doctor, no, I have a fever, I mean, how are you going to get better? So genocide is what is going on in Gaza by the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, and of course Netanyahu, in collaboration with US before Biden and now Trump administration. And it does affect us because now we do live in a global village, meaning because of social interconnectivity, we are all, I mean, something happens anywhere in the world and we can have access to it, you know, through TikTok, through YouTube, through Facebook. And I'm sure this has been going on for a long time now, almost 19, 20 months since October 7. And we have seen, and I'm sure throughout the world, many people in the millions have seen these horrific images of children, dead children, and dead innocent men and women in Gaza. Now, of course, this will affect anyone psychologically, I would assume. What do you think?
Yeah, the trauma of all the images
Yeah.
That have been flooded.
I mean,
Social media.
end of the day, we are all humans. I mean, if we can, for a moment, regardless of who follows which religion, we are all humans, and we see other humans being slaughtered by IDF. Again, humans killing humans. It will affect us. I mean, psychologically, I'm sure. And
there's also, like, recently the India-Pakistan issue is coming
yes.
to light as well. It's not into a full-blown war or anything, but it's more war around the world, around things that are happening locally and globally, and how do, as citizens, as second generation Brits living here, this is our home, and how do we make sense of it all? You know, what's going on, and what role do we play in that sense, and how?
So, like you said, it does affect us psychologically, because you see, these conflicts around the world would affect, I would assume, I'm no expert, but I would assume it would affect younger people than, I mean, alhamdulillah, we are a bit mature, but it will affect younger people more, I would think. Because if you switch on CNN or BBC or Sky News or social media, it's like in your face. Yeah. And imagine you're 18 and you're thinking, okay, so India-Pakistan war, Gaza, Hamas and Israel, and then Netanyahu is threatening to go to war with Iran, and and next thing you know, you have like so-called experts saying this could lead to World War III. Just imagine you're 18 and you're thinking, wait, I'm 18 and World War III? You see what I'm trying to say? Of course, it's going to have a big psychological impact on a young person. Like, hold on, what if it, and don't forget, we, as a lot of people know, that most of the big countries, or I'd have to say, G7 nations, including some South nations, do have nuclear weapons. And World War III means, nuclear weapon possibility. So you see the psychological.
This sort of thing, it's like it builds pressure on emotional.
Really,
pressure.
it's all
People
really
feel
hard.
angry. People feel helpless.
Yes, yes,
Just exhausted, really.
yes,
With it all going on. Chronic stress.
That's right.
Leading to burnout, panic attacks, and people.
Definitely, if you, I mean, it's come a time. I'll be honest. If I'm like, I just can't see any more horrific images regarding Gaza genocide.
And you can just imagine the people who are already going through.
It's not like I'm neglecting, but you see what I mean. I mean, but I know what's going on. It's like it's in the back of my mind. The bombs are falling, children are dying, but you can't. You can't. How much can you take, right?
Absolutely, and that's us who are the quote unquote normal people. But what about people who are going through trauma, depression, and living through a mental illness? How are they making sense of this world? You can only just imagine.
So there was this, I don't know, there was this article, I don't know who was it by, I read earlier, maybe last month, and the title was something like humanity is broken, and we have probably lost our moral compass as a collective human race. I mean, because it's like I think Netanyahu is getting away with genocide, and how is that possible? I mean, there's supposed to be international law, United Nations, and I mean, just imagine, he is doing this day in, day out, and it's like he's above the international law. But what I'm trying to say is, when young people and even ourselves, we see this, we read this, and you think, what kind of a world are we living in?
And the impact it has on school children who are going to school and seeing this happening around in the periphery.
Yeah.
What impact is that having on them now, and how about 5-10 years down the line? How is that going to impact?
So some psychiatrists are actually, talking about, is this human moral degradation? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, we do have experts like Jeffrey Shax and John Mearsheimer and also others, and they're saying, so is Israel trying to normalize genocide? Is that what's going on? If he can get away with their wives, some other bad actors down the line think, you know what, well, why can't I do it as well? So, moral degradation, is this what's happening? Because one thing is clear, it's like Netanyahu is untouchable. I mean, he's got arrest warrants out by the ICJ and ICC, and he's still doing what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And Trump is okay with that too. I mean, we do understand geopolitically that it is only United States of America, meaning Trump, the president of US, can actually stop Netanyahu. But Trump's not doing that. He's not doing that. I mean, we thought he would. When he came into office in January, and there was this ceasefire, and I have to say it was a relief for 2 weeks, and then they were just back on track. And it's worse, they're also now in West Bank, so Gaza, West Bank. So following like India, Pakistan. So you have India saying this attack happened in Kashmir, Pahalgam, I don't remember the area, but they're blaming it on Pakistan, but there is no evidence for it. And then on that basis, they attack Pakistan. I mean, seriously? And so
I think what they're saying is, they had about 7-8 times where, the Western allies have been involved in the negotiations and they've asked for evidences and everything else. However, they provided it, but they've not seen any results from that, which is their rationale for going ahead and taking action this time. Which that's their excuse for doing what they're doing. But they've, there's been over the last 5-6 occasions where they've had these incidents, random scattered incidents, and they've got involved the Western nation and they've provided what they wanted to provide. But there's two sides of every coin, isn't there?
Yes,
really,
that's true.
We get fed information through social media or politics that use a certain narrative.
Yes.
And as the public, we don't 100% know who's right, who's not, who to trust, who not to, because each of them have their own reasons for doing what they do.
And so
our concern, obviously, is the human lives, and people are dying either way. There's 26 people who died in India,
That's what they
in
said,
Jammu Kashmir, and more than that were killed.
But now with the war in Pakistan, I think there is a ceasefire.
30
I think there is a ceasefire at the moment.
Yeah.
But how long for? And also, so all in all, so you got, I think both sides, again, another 60 people probably have been killed.
Yeah, but it's just people getting killed.
Yeah, that's what I mean, civilians.
Because of bureaucrats, politicians having their own agenda, whatever they
ego,
need to
isn't it? It's an ego thing too.
And this is the world that we are.
Yeah, we are at the moment, and I'm sure this is going to change soon, and we'll come to that. But what I do understand, it is again to do with education and lack of knowledge, and it is an IQ problem, and this is not me, especially the IQ problem. It's actually mentioned by a professor called Gaudat, Mohammed Gaudat. He's an Egyptian Muslim, and he says. I mean, for example, in so many wars, you probably heard of, if we talk about history, the 100-year war between British and the French, in history. 100-year war, 100 years war, British and the French, somewhere, I don't know, from 17th century to 18th century, something like that. And it's the reason Professor Gauda says, or also Professor Mikio Kaku, he's a Japanese-American theoretical physicist, is that it is the IQ issue. It's like, sadly, collectively, they probably have, less than 50 IQ. All they know is, kill. I'm going to kill him, he's going to kill me, and it's a vicious cycle, you get me? So it's so India attacks, Pakistan attacks, then India attacks. You see what I mean?
Before you bring the possible solution, I know you've got some ideas of what the solution will be. We'll give a drum roll before it enters it, give it a little bit of suspense. Sure. So in terms of what people think, in terms of, is there any hope for the future, for mankind?
Yes.
So I know you
I would say humankind, because I don't want to upset the feminists. Humankind, humankind.
Okay.
Because they always say mankind. Why mankind?
Yeah.
And on that